Hi, my name is David Sloss. I'm a professor here at Santa Clara Law School, and I'm going to be directing the program in The Hague next summer in 2018. And with me, I'll let you introduce yourself.
My name is Mallory McGivney, and I'm a second year law student here at Santa Clara Law, and I did the Hague program last year.
Great. So I'm going to tell you a little bit, give you an overview of the program, and then we'll have a bit of a conversation about some of the unique aspects of the program. So this is a program that's been around for about 12 years. It really focuses on international criminal tribunals, and The Hague is the main seat in the world for international criminal tribunals. So if you want to learn about international criminal law, and particularly international criminal law as it applies in courts, The Hague is the place to go to see that. It is the home of the International Criminal Court, which is the main international criminal court for the world. It's the only sort of permanent international criminal court in the world. But it's also home for a couple of more temporary tribunals. The International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia has been operating in The Hague since the mid-90s. It has now sort of wound down because most of its business is done, and it's been handed over to a group called the MICT, right, which I'm now playing. It's the Mechanism for International Criminal Tribunals. And so we spend some time going to trials at the International Criminal Court. We may spend some time going to proceedings at the MICT, at the mechanism, depending on what's going on there. We don't quite know yet what will be happening next summer. There's also another body there, the Special Tribunal for Lebanon. There are likely to be trials going on there. So the specific schedule gets worked out closer to the date when we know exactly what's going to be going on in these different bodies. But last summer, we spent time at all three of these organizations, and the students got to observe trials in all three. And this is really the main activity of the program, is going and actually sitting in and observing trials in these different international criminal tribunals, and then meeting with judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and talking to them about what's going on. So Santa Clara has been fortunate in being able to get unique access to these bodies because we actually have a fairly large group of Santa Clara alumni over there who are practitioners in this area. And they've been very generous in being willing to talk to our students and getting us access to other practitioners there. So it really is a unique opportunity to observe firsthand what's going on in these tribunals, to learn about international criminal law, and to get a chance to meet and speak with practitioners who are working in this area. In addition to that, we may add in some other stuff. So in the past, we have included typically a day at the International Court of Justice, which is the main international court for dealing with disputes between states. So this is not international criminal stuff. This is more state-to-state disputes to get resolved in a courtroom. I've also been talking to judges on the Iran-U.S. Claims Tribunal about maybe adding in a day there. That is another body that actually has been around since about the early 80s, dealing with stuff that goes back to the Iran hostage crisis in '79 and the U.S. getting kicked out of Iran. For a long time, they were doing more private claims, but now they're dealing with state-to-state claims between Iran and the U.S. So we might also include a day there, depending on what's going on.
That sounds really interesting. Yeah, I'm a little jealous.
Mallory, why don't you say a little bit about your experience and what you liked most about the program, or what was particularly memorable to you in terms of seeing the courtroom proceedings and that sort of stuff?
Definitely. So like Professor Sloss said, it's very interesting to be in the courtroom and to observe the trials in front of you, but at the same time, it's extremely unique because you actually get to speak to the prosecutors, the defense attorneys, the judges, the clerks, the interpreters. You get to speak to people who work there on a very kind of informal level, and it's interesting to get that very ground level perspective and to ask them the questions you want to ask. I think the most unique experience that I really enjoyed was just witnessing the aspect of culture in the international criminal courts. It's not something that you really come across when you study domestic criminal law. So it's interesting to see how the international criminal law system kind of brings in people's concepts of what is justice, because what's justice to us is not necessarily justice to other cultures. And to see them tackle these things is very interesting to watch and to see it play out in court. I enjoyed that.
Good. Yeah, and one thing I'll mention is that the procedures in these tribunals are quite different from what you would see in a criminal trial in the US, because in the process of sort of setting up the tribunals and working out the procedures, there were real tensions between attorneys coming from common law countries and attorneys coming from civil law countries. And so what you see there is a sort of a unique blend of civil law and common law that you really don't see in many other places in the world. And so from a procedural standpoint, it's quite interesting in that way too, because the whole process is just different than what you would see in a criminal trial in the United States.
It was interesting to speak to the judges coming from different backgrounds and how they kind of mesh the two together and kind of go about it in a very counterintuitive way for them.
Yeah.
So it's fun to speak to them, ask them questions.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Mallory, why don't you talk a little bit about the housing options there? Sure. I'll just say this is a program where we sort of leave it up to you to find your own housing. There are lots of good options available, but Mallory, having just been through that, can tell you about what she did and what some of the other students did in her program.
Yeah, so the Facebook group is a really good group to join. If you get on there and just kind of find out who's looking for housing, who wants to kind of team up together and find housing. A lot of students took advantage of Airbnb. Airbnb is a great resource in The Hague. Some places do offer maybe 2 weeks of a hotel stay, but I would say most people offered Airbnb. You could stay in the city center. I stayed out near the sand dunes and the beaches, which I really enjoyed. It was a little more kind of suburbs, a little more laid back, and it was within walking distance of the International Criminal Court, so that was nice.
Good. And I should mention there's an excellent public transit system in The Hague.
Yes.
So basically anywhere you stay, as long as you're not too far from public transit, it's easy to get around. The different sites we visit are in different parts of The Hague, so they're not all in one place. So Mallory mentioned she stayed near the International Criminal Court, but then that means you can get public transit to some of the other places that we're going if you're not going to be within walking distance of all of them.
No.
But it's easy to get around.
Yeah, yeah. And if you are relying on public transportation, you should definitely get an OV chip card. It's very easy to purchase at the larger train stations. I purchased mine at the Den Haag Central Station. You have to purchase it, you have to put down a deposit, and you have to activate it. But then once you get it, it's very easy to tap in and out of the buses and the trains. So I would highly recommend that.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about going on these summer programs is it gives you an opportunity to travel around Europe. Hague is pretty centrally located. We're only there for 2 weeks. It's a short period of time, but students travel both beforehand and afterwards. And there is a free weekend in the middle when you can do a little traveling. So what did you and some of the other students in your program do to take advantage of being in Europe?
Yeah, so I did not travel. I traveled a little bit afterwards because I also did the Oxford tutorial, so I had 3 weeks off in Europe in between. And that provided a great opportunity to just stay in Europe and to travel around. But a lot of people took advantage of the 3-day weekend. If you're going to give them a 3-day weekend.
It will be a 3-day weekend.
And a lot of students travel to Amsterdam. So I've been to Amsterdam before, so I decided to stay in The Hague and see what it had to offer. But Amsterdam is a great city if you go there. If you do, go to the Anne Frank House, get your tickets way in advance. It's a great experience. It's a good city.
Amsterdam is a fascinating city. There are actually a lot of other nice cities around in the Netherlands that you can visit. I like Rotterdam, I like Leiden. They're both quite close, easy to get to. Leiden you can just go into for dinner one evening if we have a free evening or something like that. It's a charming little town.
Delft is another one.
Yeah. So there are lots of places to go. And Mallory mentioned that she went to the Oxford program. The other option is to go to the Geneva program after The Hague. So because the Hague is relatively short and comes early in the summer, you have these other options for other programs that you can tack on afterwards. And I think the main options are Geneva and Oxford. Yeah, so at the end of the program, you will be required to submit a paper. It is really designed as a reflection paper to reflect upon your experiences there. The details will be sorted out later, but that will be the main basis for evaluation of your participation in the program, is what you do in the paper at the end. I will say the grading on this will not be particularly harsh, so you don't need to worry about that.
And it's fun to write. It's an interesting, topic. You can choose your own topic probably, and it's a fun paper to write.
I look forward to having you on the program next summer. If you have questions, feel free to contact me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. You can find me easily on the web, David Sloss at Santa Clara. Find my email address there, or if you're here at Santa Clara, just come stop by my office, and I'm happy to chat with you about the program. And I think Mallory is also available to answer questions if you'd like to get a student perspective.
Of course, yeah, reach out to me on Facebook.